Welcome to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM the Superstation, the Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, November 16th, 2020, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. It's another manic Monday, and it's been a very busy news day as well. We've been posting on our social media platforms and on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. And we have a jam-packed show today. So everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. So on today's show, we're going to deal with, we'll continue our coverage of coronavirus. The coronavirus infections are spreading, and states have now imposed new shutdowns and various types of shutdowns as U.S. coronavirus cases surpass 11 million. We're at about 11.1 million cases now. It took 6 days to go from 10 million to 11 million. It took 100 days to go from 0 to 1 million. And African Americans and Hispanics have been hit the hardest. Washington Post has reporting on that. So we're going to give you an update on what's going on with coronavirus. And we know here in the state of Michigan, we know our own Governor Gretchen Whitmer did a press conference on Sunday, November 15th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about new restrictions that are coming. Talk about new restrictions that are coming, and they go into effect on Wednesday. This Wednesday, 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll give you an update on that. And then also in the news, I posted a couple of articles, one from the Associated Press and one from Bloomberg, dealing with Joe Biden and his team of policy experts that he is assembling. And Joe Biden fills economic posts with experts on systemic racism. Joe Biden fills economic posts with experts on systemic racism. Bloomberg has an article about that. Previous administrations haven't made race scholarship such a clear priority, Bloomberg reports. And then Associated Press, my girl Kat Stafford over at Associated Press, we share her articles with Facebook friends. Key role for Black policy leaders on Biden's transition team. Key role for Black policy leaders on Biden's transition team. Black policy leaders will play a pivotal role in President-elect Joe Biden's transition, marking one of the most diverse agency review teams in history. Of the 500 plus team members announced this week, this article came out November 12th, 2020, Thursday. Of the 500 plus team members announced this week, more than half are women, and Black men and women are leading more than 1/4 of the teams. So we'll talk about that because that's significant. We haven't seen policy experts like this and a team like this assembled in previous administrations for the most part to tackle systemic racism. With Donald Trump really doesn't want to admit systemic racism exists. And his Attorney General, William Barr, doesn't want to admit systemic racism exists in policing. Well, if you don't want to admit the problem exists, how can you deal with the problem? William Barr does not want to admit systemic racism exists in policing. So then you have to ask yourself the question, well, why, I've talked about this before. Donald Trump wants to be the champion of criminal justice reform. He's not. One. Two, why'd you hire 2 attorney generals who are against criminal justice reform? And neither one of them, Jeff Sessions nor William Barr, want to deal with systemic racism in policing or in the criminal justice system for that matter. Things that make you go, Things that make you go, So we'll talk about that as well. And then back in September, I talked about this story from CBSnews.com. Other outlets picked this up. There was a study by Citigroup Bank. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion. Citigroup finds. And they looked at from the years, that was over a 20-year period of time, from the year 2000 to the year 2020. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion in lost earnings from the economy. Okay. Well, the Economist who put together that study was interviewed on CBS News, and we have an excerpt of that interview. Economist who says racism cost the U.S. $16 trillion explains the math. She's an African-American female, brilliant sister, and we'll talk about that as well. Dana Peterson is her name. Okay, formerly global economist at Citigroup, now chief economist for the conference board and the lead researcher behind the study. So we're going to share that with you as well. So as we talk about systemic racism, we have to also see one of the things that this study dealt with, and I did an entire broadcast dealing with this. I did an entire video dealing with this study. It shows how racism negatively impacts everybody in society. Okay, it shows how racism negatively impacts everybody in society. So people may, you may have white people who say, well, racism only hurts African Americans. Well, African Americans are the majority of the ones who are hurt by racism, because racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. And racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, and they use that to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. Okay. But racism hurts everyone in society one way or another. And this study documents this also. Okay, so we'll discuss that. Then you had then also blackamericaweb.com had a article today that we posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. It's dealing with Chadwick Boseman. Now, we know Chadwick Boseman starred in Black Panther, the film Black Panther. Black Panther's sequel will not feature a digitized Chadwick Boseman. Black Panther's sequel will not feature a digitized Chadwick Boseman. So Chadwick Boseman passed away, we know, a few months ago. And it was, people were wondering, well, who's going to portray Black Panther in the sequel? Will it be Wesley Snipes? Will Letitia Wright, who portrayed his younger sister Shuri, take on the role of Black Panther? Because in the comic books, at one point, Shuri actually becomes the Black Panther. And we know throughout the history of the Black Panther comic books, understanding the storyline mythology, we know there have been numerous Black Panthers, and even before T'Challa, there were Black Panthers even before T'Challa. Okay. So, there have been, numerous Black Panthers, and there were Black Panthers even before T'Challa. So this article, and some people were wondering, well, okay, are they going to have a digitized Black Panther? Are they going to have a digitized Chadwick Boseman? And some people said, oh, we don't want that, etc. Okay, so we can put that rumor to rest. So we'll discuss that as well. And then face-to-faceafrica.com has a very interesting article. Speaking of Black Panther and Wakanda, Ghana to build Wakanda City to serve as a pilgrimage for people of African descent. Ghana to build Wakanda City to serve as a pilgrimage for people of African descent. Now, this got over 4,000 likes on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, when I posted this article. Okay, so we'll discuss this also because this is very, very important. All right, and how's everybody doing? Everybody share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in also. We're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. Okay. So follow us there. And we're broadcasting on 910 AM Superstation, WFDF's YouTube channel as well. All right. Now, when and the calling number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I posted on what was it yesterday? I think it was today. I think it was this morning. All my days are running together. It's been very busy. I posted, you know, I said that all these legal cases, Donald Trump is having these frivolous lawsuits. He's having his attorneys file. All this stuff is being thrown out, right? And I said Donald Trump needs to call Tyrone to help him come pack his stuff so he can move. Okay. So and I posted that on on our Facebook page. You got almost 1,000 likes. I posted that. I said Donald Trump needs to call Tyrone to help him come pack his stuff so he can move. Hashtag call Tyrone. Hashtag you can't use my phone. Right. So so tonight's show is being sponsored by the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. Okay. Okay. We help you pack your stuff. Call 1-866 call Tyrone. Okay. but you can't use their phone. Tonight's show is brought to you by the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. All right. Okay. Okay. Our motto is we'll help you pack your stuff. So that's what he needs, a moving van, and he needs to call the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. Set up an appointment for January 20th, 2021. Okay. And Donald Trump should invest in some Post-it notes, some bubble wrap, cardboard boxes. Okay, all that stuff. All right, now on the all right. On the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you've been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Okay, for the white people listening, see, Erykah Badu had a song years ago called Tyrone. I think you better call Tyrone. It's on YouTube. Look it up. Okay. For those that may not know. Okay. And then she's in there. She says, every time you come around, you got to bring Jim, James, Paul, and Tyrone. Okay. That's where that came from. For those that don't know. And for millennials that may not know either. All right. I don't know. I just realized some people may not know what I'm talking about when I say call Tyrone. All right. Because, you know, we were on 910 AM Superstation WFDF here in Detroit. So we do have, you know, white people listen to the station also. I just realized, okay, some people may not. Some people may not be in on the joke. Okay. So I need to explain this to people. Yeah, Erykah Badu, right? Tyrone, it's on YouTube. Google it and you can watch it. The video, and then it all makes sense. It'll all come together. Okay. And then the joke I made last night about from the movie Harlem Nights, when the champ was about to beat up the white guy in the ring, in the boxing ring, he said, "Whatever you do, don't take this behind whipping personally." Okay, some people may have to go watch Harlem Nights also. I just realized that. Okay, some people may have to go watch Harlem Nights also. Okay, that's so. So on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself, What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here. We deal with current events, history, politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App. $ the AHN Show through Cash App, and also at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, we're coming up on a break. We got a message from our sponsor, the Jim James Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. All right, you listen to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, everybody, stand by. How's everybody doing? All right, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600. It's a calling number. All right, how's everybody doing? Okay, we got Alicia watching from Buenos Aires, Argentina. We got Donna. I would love to see him escort out of the building. All right, absolutely. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm gonna do a commercial. I'm gonna do a commercial for the Jim James Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. I said we help you pack your sugar honey iced tea. Today's show is sponsored by the Jim James Paul and Tyrone Moving Company. All right, stand by, everybody. Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Oh man, goddamn! They just had this shit. Stand by, everybody. I got to get ready for this next segment. I was trying to find this clip. Stand by, everybody. Stand by. Okay, we'll be back from break in 1 minute.
Report and credit score for free in minutes. Call 1-800-783-9197.
My name is Greg Davis, and I am back on 9:10 a.m. The Superstation. We're going to talk about relationship time. We've been in these hours, we single and things.
My question, Bishop, we always hear this term, ride or die chick. Should we be responsible?
That's why it's called ride or die. When loving you is hurting me. It's getting heated. It ain't getting heated here. This is what we're going to be doing. This is good dialogue.
We are 9:10 a.m. Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation of Future Radio. Hey, I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Monday, November 16th, 2020. And we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Also, we're broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Then also on our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, on YouTube. Okay, so when you follow us there, turn on notifications. Also, so you know, turn on notifications so you know when we go live. Okay. So right before the break, we were going over the topics for today, and I was trying to find this clip here. I'm about to find it in a minute here. All right. So when we look at coronavirus and we look at coronavirus cases, we see that it's surging past 11 million. We're at about 11.1 million now, and states are imposing new shutdowns. After the U.S. surpassed 11 million coronavirus cases and amid concerns that Thanksgiving gatherings could make the crisis even worse, which it will, a number of states are imposing sweeping new restrictions with the possibility of more lockdowns looming. Now, I told you this was going to take place. I've been saying for a few weeks now that they need to, when it comes to restaurants, it's definitely here in the state of Michigan, other states also, they need to restrict it to carry out only, because a lot of coronavirus is being spread at restaurants. Okay, when people are sitting down, eating, laughing, talking, have their face, have their mask around their chin, and they're just sitting there laughing and talking, and then it's not protecting anything. It's spreading coronavirus. All right. So Chicago's new stay-at-home advisory on today, on Monday, November 16th, urging residents not to leave their homes unless it is essential. Now, it is not a mandate, it's an advisory order, but coronavirus is surging in Chicago. In Philadelphia just announced it will close indoor dining, gyms, museums, and more, and will require employees to work from home whenever possible, and remote only learning for college and high school students, beginning Friday and lasting through January 1st. Okay, so in Philadelphia, for college and high school students, they're suspending in-person schooling, in-person education, and it's all going to be online. And that's going to run through January 1st of 2021. When we look at the state of Washington is cracking down starting today, closing down indoor dining at restaurants and bars, indoor gatherings with people outside of their households are now indoor with people outside of are now prohibited, because the focus is cracking down on these people having parties at their home, game nights, things like this, right? So we talked about this last week. There was a big article from Washington Post that dealt with this, and I want everybody to read this. It's entitled "At Dinner Parties and Game Nights." At dinner parties and game nights, casual American life is fueling the coronavirus surge as daily cases exceed 150,000. Now, this article came out back November 12th. I think it was November 12th, when it was daily cases exceeding 150,000. Now we're seeing daily cases exceeding 170,000. All right. But the White House Coronavirus Task Force has been urging states that are virus hotspots to curtail maskless get-togethers of family and friends, saying in reports that asymptomatic attendees, quote, cause ongoing transmission, frequently infecting multiple people in a single gathering. Let me repeat this. Asymptomatic attendees, quote, cause ongoing transmission, frequently infecting multiple people in a single gathering, end quote. Last Thursday, the nation passed another grim milestone in the pandemic, setting records for cases and hospitalizations. with 152,391 new cases and 66,000 people currently hospitalized. That was as of Thursday last week. It's about November 12th last week. All right. So what they're talking about in this article is how people are having family get-togethers over their homes. They invite their friends. They have dinner parties and game nights, and they think they're safe because they know everybody that's coming. Well, you inviting the killer through your front door. And this is one of the main ways coronavirus has been spreading and surging for the past couple of months or so. So this is why with a lot of these crackdowns and a lot of these restrictions that are being imposed in various states, in Michigan, in Washington, in cities like Chicago and Philadelphia, this is what they're focusing on. This is what I've been warning people about. Okay. People having house parties and things like that. I'm like, no, dude, you're just inviting this right into your home. So in the state of Washington state, the state of Washington is cracking down starting today, closing indoor dining at restaurants and bars. Indoor gatherings with people outside of their households are now prohibited. In the state of New Jersey, after breaking its own single day record for new cases twice over the weekend, after breaking its own single day record for new cases twice over the weekend, the state of New Jersey is lowering the limit on indoor gatherings to 10 people from 25 people and limiting outdoor gatherings to 150 people. This is in the state of New Jersey. In the state of New Mexico, residents are now under a shelter-in-place order, in the state of New Mexico, and all non-essential businesses must close for the next 2 weeks beginning today. All non-essential businesses must close for the next 2 weeks beginning today. In the state of Oregon is imposing a 2-week freeze starting this coming Wednesday, requiring all gyms and fitness centers, museums, pools, sports courts, movie theaters, zoos, gardens, aquariums, and venues to remain closed. Grocery stores, pharmacies, and retail stores in the state of Oregon must limit capacity to 75%. Churches are permitted to have only 25 people indoors and 50 people outdoors. When we look at the state of Michigan, we see that our own Governor Gretchen Whitmer on Sunday, November 15th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, held a press conference and announced a 3-week pause to include ending in-person dining at restaurants. Like I said, that I've been saying for a few weeks now, that needs to stop, in-person dining at restaurants. She's also will be closing movie theaters and more. During these 3 weeks, which are between Wednesday, November 18th and December 8th, the state of Michigan will mandate that these operations be closed. In-person learning at high schools, because 49% of the new cases when it comes to schools are in high schools. 49%. So in-person learning at high schools and colleges and universities will cease for 3 weeks. They'll do that online. Shutting down theaters, stadiums, and arenas. All who are able to work from home will be required to do just that. Dine-in restaurants and bars, that's going to be carry out. You can't carry out alcohol. I don't think they're going to let you do that. But the dine-in restaurants and bars, that's prohibited. They'll have carry out from restaurants and bars, food. Organized sports, except professional sports, will be prohibited for 3 weeks. Bowling centers, ice skating, indoor water parks, bingo halls, casinos, arcades, group fitness classes. Okay, so the main focus is on restricting these types of various group activities. All right, now there will be several areas in the state of Michigan that will remain open according to the state. Those include hair salons, barbershops, and other personal services. gyms and pools for individual exercise. Gyms and pools for individual exercise will be allowed to stay open for this during these 3 weeks of restrictions. Retail stores are stay open. Indoor gatherings limited to 2 households and 10 people. Indoor gatherings. Now, if you got people coming from outside the household, that's still dangerous. Okay, it's still dangerous. At a very minimum, take people's temperatures. Excuse me. At a very minimum, take people's temperatures before they come over. Preschool through 8th grade will still be allowed to stay open. Childcare, public transit, manufacturing, construction, and other work impossible to do remotely will still be able to go on. All right, so check out this from WXYZ.com, Channel 7 here in Detroit. WXYZ.com, Channel 7 here in Detroit. Now, Michigan governor blasts Trump advisor for call to rise up. NBC News reported this today in MSNBC. I was trying to find the clip from MSNBC, but well, hold on. Let's see. We got one of them here. Okay, I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send this clip to you here, Shakita. I had it queued up in my other browser, but my other browser went down on me. So I'm going to send this clip to you. Earlier in the year, Michigan had some of the most stringent coronavirus restrictions. Okay. Earlier this year, Michigan had some of the most stringent coronavirus restrictions. And now residents in the state of Michigan are facing a new crackdown. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer announced a 3-week pause beginning Wednesday. Now, Dr. Scott Atlas, one of Donald Trump's top COVID-19 advisors, criticized Michigan's new restrictions on Sunday. Okay. Now, Dr. Scott Atlas is a neuroradiologist. He's a neuroradiologist. He has no background in fighting infectious diseases. He's not a virologist or epidemiologist. Okay. Dr. Scott Atlas criticized Michigan's new restrictions on Sunday. He said, quote, "The only way this stops is if people rise up. The only way this stops is if people rise up. You get what you accept. Hashtag freedom matters. Hashtag step up." Now, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who was a Democrat and a frequent target of Donald Trump and his supporters, said that Dr. Scott Atlas' remarks, quote, "took my breath away," end quote. She said, "We are in the midst of the worst weeks of this pandemic. We have been going through this for 9 months, and right now the numbers are as bad as they have been at any given time. And so we have to make aggressive measures," Governor Gretchen Whitmer said. Now, keep in mind, just a couple months ago, she was the target of a plot by Vanilla ISIS, 13 white men, white domestic terrorists, some people call them Vanilla ISIS, to storm the state of Michigan Capitol, kidnap elected officials, including Governor Gretchen Whitmer, put them on trial, and possibly execute them. And then you got dumbass Dr. Scott Atlas making remarks like this. Now, Dr. Scott Atlas in the follow-up tweet said he was, quote, never, he said he was, quote, never was talking at all about violence, end quote, in reference to his rise up remark. Okay, well, what were you talking about then? All right, I sent you that clip, Shakita. Okay, let's go to the phone lines quickly. How's everybody doing on our social media platforms? Let's go to the phone lines quickly. Let's go to line 1. We have Theo. Theo, welcome to the African History Network show. How you doing today? You're on the air. Who do we have on line 1? Whoever, okay, you're on, okay, get them straight, Shakita. They're not saying anything. All right. Also check out this article here from Washington Post. The U.S. surpasses 11 million infections. Black and Latino Americans still shoulder an outsized share. We talked about this yesterday. The U.S. surpasses 11 million infections. Black and Latino Americans still shoulder an outsized share. Officials in the U.S. have reported more than 11 million total cases of coronavirus as of Sunday, November 15th, as the country's outbreaks lead to agonizing new levels of hospitalizations. Cases passed 10 million just a week ago, and more than 1 in 400 Americans have tested positive. Now, they talk about, let me scroll down here. Hispanic or Latino people have been hospitalized at the highest rate, 4.2 times that of white people, with non-Hispanic American, Indian, or Alaska Native people hospitalized at 4.1 times the rate of whites, and African Americans hospitalized at 3.9 times the rates of white, according to figures from the Center for Disease Control. The higher hospitalizations, the higher hospitalization rates have been linked to higher positivity rates, as non-white Americans are more likely to be essential workers with jobs in the food service industry or home health care, which cannot be carried out remotely or work from home or telecommute, and require interacting with the public. These jobs often don't provide health insurance or paid time off, benefits that enable workers to stay home when sick. Many people in these communities are also more likely to live in multi-generational households in densely populated communities where infections spread quickly and easily. We're going to post a link here to this article once again from Washington Post. Check out the live updates from the Washington Post dealing with coronavirus as well. The U.S. surpasses 11 million infections. Black and Latino Americans still shoulder an outsized share. As I've been saying for months, this is serious. We can't play games with this. And these restrictions are being put in place in these various cities and states to try to get some type of control over this, because when Thanksgiving gets here, if this thing is exploding and continues and new cases continue to surge and exceed, we had 10 straight days of 100,000 new cases a day. When Thanksgiving gets here, it's going to be totally out of control. When Christmas gets here and people are going over people's houses and having Christmas parties, yeah. When winter is not here yet, winter is not here. When winter gets here and it's colder outside and people retreat indoors more, and then you go into Christmas, the Christmas season, and the 12 days of Christmas. I don't know what's going to happen. All right, let's go. We got Theo straight now. Let's go to Theo, line 1. Welcome to the African History Network show. Theo, tell us where you're calling from. Do we have Theo Broughton on? Okay. All right. Let's do this here. For the sake of time, I want to get to this story here. We talked about it back in September. I talked about this story from CBS News. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion, Citigroup finds. Racism has cost the U.S. $16 trillion, study finds. And this was a study from Citigroup Bank. And it stated that America could have been $16 trillion richer if not for inequities in education, housing, wages, and business investment between African American and white Americans over the past 20 years. So it's looking at from the year 2000 to 2020, just that 20-year period of time. The U.S. could have been $16 trillion richer if not for inequities in education, housing, wages, and business investments. The study released by Citigroup in right around September 23rd, 2020, is the latest in a body of research that attempts to quantify the economic impact of systemic racism that Donald Trump and Attorney General William Barr don't want to admit exists. Citigroup arrived at its $16 trillion figure after estimating that one, African American workers have lost $113 billion in potential wages over the past 2 decades because they don't have a college degree. African American workers have lost $113 billion with a B in potential wages, okay, because they don't have a college degree. The housing market lost $218 billion with a B in sales because African American applicants could not get home loans. But what's his name? The poster boy for white privilege, Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner says African Americans just they have to want to succeed. Okay, they have to try harder. They have to be like Avis. We're number 2, but we're trying harder. Avis rental car. So maybe y'all don't remember that commercial, but you remember last month, the poster boy for white privilege, Jared Kushner, said for Donald Trump's policies to work for the African American community, African Americans have to want to be successful. The housing market lost $218 billion in sales because African American applicants could not get home loans. 3, about $13 trillion in business revenue never flowed into the economy because African American entrepreneurs could not get access to bank loans. But people like Jared Kushner say, oh, African Americans have to want to succeed. Oh, you just have to try harder. You don't want to deal with systemic racism. Now, racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. Racism has nothing to do with not liking people, calling people racial epithets, or calling people names. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race. Racism occurs when one race of people control the majority of the wealth, power, resources, benefits, privileges, land, access to education, access to opportunity, healthcare, jobs, land, media, etc. And they use that to marginalize, subordinate, and do harm to another race of people. Okay, this is what racism is. So there was a follow-up story from CBS News. Economist who says racism cost the U.S. $16 trillion explains the math. The economist who says racism cost the U.S. $16 trillion explains the math. So her name is Dana Peterson. She's formerly global economist at Citigroup Bank, now chief economist for the Conference Board and the lead researcher behind this study. And the article also I was looking for from Washington Post dealing with Jared Kushner. He went to Jared. Management company owned by Jared Kushner files to evict hundreds of families as moratoriums expire. Management company owned by Jared Kushner files to evict hundreds of families as moratoriums expire. White House advisors company, Westminster Management, and other landlords prepare to remove tenants behind on rent during the pandemic. Okay, this is from November 5th, 2020. Everybody read this. So when you have poster boys for white privilege like Jared Kushner, who say African Americans just have to want to be successful, they never want to address systemic racism. Now you're trying to evict people from their homes during the global pandemic, and you have had a hand in making this pandemic in the U.S. worse. But you want to talk about they have to want to be successful. Okay. That's why you need to pack your stuff too. You need to call the Jim James, Paul and Tyrone Moving Company, and your ass needs to go too. Let's go to this clip here from CBS Market Watch. Dealing with economist who says racism costs, but cue it up at the 26-second mark. You got that clip I sent you, Shakita.
The report says 16 trillion. Can you sort of break that down into its parts? What are the different sort of buckets or arenas that make up the 16 trillion?
Sure. The 16 trillion is the sum of estimated economic losses from homeownership, education, income, and business investment gaps between Black and white households and firms. The largest share of the gap is $13 trillion less in business revenues. Accompanying that figure are potentially 6 million fewer jobs created per year. The next largest share is 2.7 trillion in wages not earned by Black workers. The remaining shares are from foregone income due to the education gap, plus equity not accrued and spending not affected from the homeownership gap. Again, folding in racial wealth gaps would produce an even more outsized figure than 16 trillion.
So let's just take the 16 trillion that we have in front of us. How do we start to chip away at that? How do we get that number lower? Is there any plan for that? Is it under your thoughts?
Well, sure. It's best to take a holistic approach, as racial gaps appear to link to each other in a complex matrix. So housing segregation and homeownership gaps contribute to education gaps, which contribute to wage and income gaps, which contribute to wealth gaps, which affects homeownership and investment, which affects education gaps and back to wages, et cetera. As you can see, it becomes quite circular. So targeting each of these gaps from multiple fronts can erode racial economic inequality. Positive interventions along the continuum of lifetime activities, from early education to higher education and training, to employment, to access to credit to purchase homes, to access to capital to start businesses, to build wealth for retirement, are all required to help close these racial economic gaps.
When you all saw the 16 trillion, what was your reaction? Because my reaction was like, that's huge. What did you all think when you finally settled on that number?
Well, the figure looked about right. Indeed, it may be a lower bound of estimates on economic loss, as we did not try to quantify the racial wealth gap. Adding on the opportunity loss in wealth would generate an even larger and more sobering figure. The figure is also consistent with prior work from other researchers on racial gaps, and is also comparable in terms of magnitude to figures computed from the existing research on closing gender labor force gaps.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so check that out from CBS Market Watch. Name of that clip, CBSnews.com Economist, who says racism cost the U.S. $16 trillion, explains the math. Okay. All right. So when we very quickly here, when we look at, I posted a couple of articles dealing with Joe Biden and his team of policy experts. Okay. His team of policy experts. If we look at the one first from November 12th, 2020, from Associated Press, written by Kat Stafford. And I share her article. She posts, with Facebook friends. So she's from Detroit. Kat Stafford writes for the Associated Press, but she's a journalist who lives here in Detroit. Key role for Black policy leaders on Biden's transition team. Black policy leaders will play a pivotal role in President-elect Joe Biden's transition team. Can't come fast enough. Marking one of the most diverse agency review teams in history. One of the most diverse agency review teams in history. Of the 500 plus team members announced this week, more than half are women, and African-American men and women are leading more than 1/4 of the teams. The diversity is significant because the teams will be responsible for evaluating the operations of federal agencies that have a broad impact on Americans' lives. And it's especially important because Joe Biden will take office at a time when the United States is confronting a historic pandemic, joblessness, and police brutality, crises that have disparately impacted African Americans. Now, Tony Allen, a transition advisory board member and president of historically Black college, Delaware State University, said the agency review process will help lay the foundation for meeting these challenges on day one. We are building a team to reflect America, and these Black leaders are dedicated experts in the field. Now, the teams announced by Joe Biden this week, is actually last week, will lay much of the groundwork so the thousands of new staffers and appointees starting work in January will have a roadmap and guidelines for how to continue the federal government's work without pause. The teams face hurdles because Donald Trump has yet to publicly acknowledge Joe Biden's victory, and his administration has prevented a formal start to the transition. The makeup of the team is a sign that Biden is focused on rewarding African-American voters for their support in the election. African-American voters, we know, powered Biden and his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, to victory in critical states such as Michigan and Pennsylvania, as well as Georgia. Now, Niambi Carter, who is sometimes a panelist on Roland Martin Unfiltered with me on Fridays, Dr. Niambi Carter, who is a political science professor at Howard University. We were just on last Friday together on Roland Martin Unfiltered. She said the Biden coalition owes a debt to Black folks. Black people helped them survive the primary. And then in this election cycle, they showed up in key states like Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. They really pulled Joe Biden over the line. So absolutely, I think this is an attempt, but by not just Biden, but also the Democratic Party to keep Black people in the fold. I think this is an attempt by not just Biden, but also the Democratic Party to keep Black people in the fold, end quote. Now, many of the review team appointees are graduates of HBCUs. They include Charmian Kinder, Charmion, who will help lead or guide transition efforts at the Commerce Department. Charmian Kinder was a White House press aide to First Lady Michelle Obama and served as a public affairs appointee at the Department of Commerce and Housing and Urban Development. Next, you have Patrice Sims, S-I-M-M-S. Patrice Sims will lead the transition effort for the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. He is a prominent environmental attorney and legal scholar who was a deputy assistant attorney general in the Obama Justice Department's Environment and Natural Resource Division. Civil rights leaders and activists have pledged to push Joe Biden's administration to create more progressive policies on criminal justice, housing, the economy, and more. Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors, in a letter last week, congratulated Biden and Harris on the victory and sought a meeting to discuss, quote, commitments that must be made to Black people, end quote. So check out the rest of this article here. This is from Associated Press, written by Kat Stafford, November 12, 2020. Key role for Black policy leaders on Biden's transition team. Check out the articles at apnews.com, apnews.com. Then we have, how much time we have left in the show, Shakita? Then Bloomberg had an article from November 15th, and we posted that on our Facebook fan page also. Biden fills economic post with experts on systemic racism. Biden fills economic post with experts on systemic racism. Previous administrations haven't made race scholarship such a clear priority. Previous administrations haven't made race scholarship such a clear priority. Hey, Shakita, how much time we have left in the show? You can just come on and tell me. When it comes to economic policy, President-elect Joe Biden is putting racial disparities high on the agenda as he assembles his administration. The incoming president tapped Mirza Baradaran, 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 whose book, The Color of Money, is a key reference on the racial wealth gap, to prepare the Treasury Department for the transition. She's joined by Lisa Cook, an economist at Michigan State University, on the landing team for the Federal Reserve and banking and securities regulators. They are among more than 500 experts. They are among more than 500 experts who will focus on race as they shape Joe Biden's policies on issues like housing, health, and small business lending. Okay, so we'll talk about this some more. We're going to continue this discussion on our social media platforms. Follow us at our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network on Facebook, my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP on YouTube. We're out of time here. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. Remember, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Right now, it's correct wrong behaviors, not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Talk to you tomorrow night. Peace. All right. Okay, let's continue. How's everybody doing? Let's continue. African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. How's everybody doing? And we have a promotion going on for 1 or 2 days longer. We have, I think, maybe 3 spots left. Just brought on a new advertiser this morning, in addition to the Jim James, Paul, and Tyrone Moving Company. Call 1-866 call Tyrone. But I just brought on a new. So we're still here, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We're still here. I do live radio. We do radio here in Detroit on 9-10 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. We're on Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight. So we're on there for an hour. Then we continue on our social media platforms. So we're still going. All right. Let's continue here. Okay. And then also you could donate to the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, and also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Okay, I want to go back to this article here dealing with Joe Biden's team of experts and dealing with systemic racism. And this article is from Bloomberg.com. We posted it on our Facebook fan page today. Biden fields economic post with experts on systemic racism. Biden fields economic post with experts on systemic racism. So, Mercer Baradaran, MEHRSA, Mercer Baradaran, declined to comment, and Lisa Cook referred questions to the Biden team, okay, about their involvement on the team. Now, observers say they've never seen expertise about race figure so prominently in economic roles. Observers say they've never seen expertise about race figure so prominently in economic roles. Quote, "It's an incredible signal to the Black community," said Anna Gifty Opoku Ajiman, co-founder of the Sadie Collective, a nonprofit organization working to get more Black women in economics. Quote, "This administration is going to be focused on thinking about how do we build up Black wealth? How do we close this racial wealth gap?" All right, everybody, share this broadcast. Do me a favor, share this broadcast on your social media platforms. I guess people don't understand that we keep going. We don't end on our social media platforms when I end with the radio station. We keep going here. So share this broadcast on your social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Now, disparities in economic opportunity and achievement have been a prominent topic in the U.S. this year since the summer's widespread demonstrations against racism and police brutality. Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta President Raphael Bostic the first Black Fed president in the central bank's 106-year history, has said systemic racism is both an economic and moral issue, Now, Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are emphasizing diversity as they prepare to assume power next year. Women comprise more than 50% of the new administration's landing teams, according to the transition team, and more than 40% of advisors are from groups that are historically underrepresented in the federal government, like racial minorities, according to the article, racial minorities, people with disabilities, and those who identify as LGBTQ. Quote, having these individuals who are representative of their community in the actual room where they can voice their perspective and have their perspective actually translate to policy, it matters more than you think, Opoku Ajiman said. Next, she said she will watch to see whether progressive-leaning advisors can drive policy change. Now, among Biden's other experts on the racial wealth gap are Don Graves, who leads the Treasury landing team. He's a former Obama administration official and was head of corporate responsibility at Key Bank, K-E-Y, Key Bank, until he joined the campaign in September. Bill Bynum, B-Y-N-U-M, who advised the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He's chief executive of the Hope Credit Union. Tanae Dolphin, who will serve on the Commerce Department's landing team. She's the first executive director for the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. Now, such personnel decisions hint at the incoming administration's emphasis on addressing disparities. Ben Zipperer, Z-I-P-P-E-R-E-R, an economist at the Economic Policy Institute, the EPI, said, quote, inequality in our economy causes a lot of problems. There's a growing awareness that we can actually do something about it. All right, check out this article here from Bloomberg.com. We posted also on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. Biden fills economic posts with experts on systemic racism. Okay, let's continue here. There was a, let's see here. There was one clip from MSNBC that we didn't get a chance to play it on 9:10 a.m. We ran out of time. I'm going to go to this clip. Then we're going to go to this news about Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther. Trump COVID-19 advisor tells Americans to rise up against safety measures. See, this ties into Governor Gretchen Whitmer here in Michigan. And Dr. Scott Atlas, who is a neuroradiologist, okay? And he's heading up Donald Trump's coronavirus pandemic team. He has no background in fighting infectious diseases or outbreaks or anything like that. Okay, let's go. This is from All In with Chris Hayes from Monday, November 16, 2020. Trump COVID-19 advisor tells Americans to rise up against safety measures. Let's go to this clip.
In Michigan, which again was very hard hit earlier this year, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer is now temporarily barring indoor dining, one of the riskiest activities, we know this, as well as in-person instruction at high schools and colleges, and ordering the temporary closure of some businesses, including movie theaters and casinos. Again, high-risk locales. Now, this is not a full shelter-in-place order. She's keeping elementary and middle schools open. Many businesses, even gyms, are still allowed to operate. What you see Whitmer doing is what policymakers across the country are doing, trying to balance all these competing interests, while also not seeing her state decimated by the virus. And then what happens? Along comes this guy, COVID's best ally in the White House outside the president, Scott Atlas, a name that will live in infamy, I have no doubt. A right-wing radiologist with zero public health expertise who got in front of the president by going on Trump TV during the early months of the pandemic, and then got hired, and then managed to take over essentially the nation's entire COVID strategy and push the entire country towards an approach in which the virus would be left to burn through the populace.
When there are high-risk people, we must protect them, but we don't lock down the schools, and we do not. The goal of policy is absolutely not to stop all spread of COVID-19 to asymptomatic or very low-risk individuals.
That's what he said. You've got to protect the high-risk people, right? But we're not trying to stop the spread. Let it spread. And then we're going to protect the high-risk people. Guess what's happening to the high-risk people right now? Who do you think's in those hospitals and in the long-term care facilities? Who do you think constitutes the names of the dead over 1,000 day after day, Scott Atlas? I mean, this guy is probably more responsible for our record cases and hospitalizations, for our spike in deaths than any other policymaker in America. Washington Post editorial today stating bluntly, Scott Atlas's rabble-rousing will lead to illness and death. He should be fired. And then when a governor who isn't some right-wing think tank flunky, right, who actually has people she is responsible for the health and safety of, when she tries to take some steps to slow the spread, like Governor Gretchen Whitmer is doing in Michigan. Well, here's Scott Atlas, quote, "The only way this stops is if people rise up. You get what you accept. Hashtag freedom matters. Hashtag step up." He wants people to, quote, rise up. That's what he said. Perhaps you'll recall that Governor Whitmer was the target of a fairly advanced alleged right-wing terror plot to kidnap her and then execute her on camera because of her COVID response. Atlas later claimed he was never talking at all about violence, just wanted people to vote and protest, which, first of all, everyone just voted like 2 weeks ago. Second, the protests at Michigan State Capitol early this year were pretty scary and attended by some of the people who then plotted to kidnap and kill Whitmer. Mm-hmm. And just even putting all that aside, Atlas is actively rooting on the virus, trying to extract a political penalty from people who are doing the best they can under abominable circumstances.
Dr. Atlas, could you come clarify your comments asking people in Michigan to rise up against COVID restrictions? The White House told states to handle the COVID response, so why are you contradicting the governor, particularly when you don't have any training in infectious disease?
This nation has suffered through an absence of federal leadership since the pandemic started.
Okay, so you had a reporter, Dr. Scott Atlas was walking. You had a reporter that was walking next to him asking questions. He didn't want to answer the questions because the female reporter nailed him. He didn't want to answer the questions.
Actually, the presence of malignant leadership. And it's now suffering in the absence of federal testing strategy and federal rescue dollars. The mercy of a virus that Scott Atlas and Donald Trump are, again, essentially promoting. They want the virus to spread. They have said as much. Here's how the president-elect responded to the stance embraced by Scott Atlas.
The idea that president's now existing, remaining advisor on COVID is saying that they should resist. What the hell's the matter with these guys? What is the matter with them? Resist. You know, every major individual of any consequence in the health field is saying we can save 100,000 lives just between now and January 21st by wearing these masks.
That man, President-elect Joe Biden, does not become president for 65 more days. Until then, state and local officials are on their own as they face the darkest winter of our lifetime.
All right. So,
good evening from New York. Happy Monday. I'm Chris.
So check that clip out. That's from MSNBC. And then another clip that's from All In with Chris Hayes. Another one, Georgia's Secretary of State says Lindsey Graham suggested he find a way to toss legal ballots. This was, I saw this earlier today. On Monday, Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, told the Washington Post he has come under increasing pressure from Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham, to throw away legal ballots. Okay. Now there's an audit going on of the ballots in Georgia right now, and they have to be finished. They're counting the 5 million ballots by hand. They have to be finished by Wednesday. Joe Biden is Georgia has been called for Joe Biden, but there's going to be a recount because it's within a half a percentage point, the margin. Joe Biden has won Georgia by about 14,000. He's ahead by about 14,000 votes now. Okay. I want, this is about 4 minutes. I want to play this. Then we get to Chadwick Boseman. This is a clip I was looking for and couldn't find, but this is very important. How's everybody doing? This is right here is very important because you have Republicans still trying to steal this election. You have Republicans still trying to steal this election. Okay, let's go to this clip here.
Just how deep the rot in the Republican Party goes. Monday, I'm Chris Hayes. We have breaking news tonight that shows just how deep the rot in the Republican Party goes. But before getting to that, and we will in just a moment, take a step back just to sort of survey the last few weeks since the election, right? The most charitable.
Oh, hell. Just a second here.
Good evening from New York. Happy Monday. I'm Chris Hayes. We have breaking news tonight that shows just how deep the rot in the Republican Party goes. But before getting to that, and we will in just a moment, take a step back just to sort of survey the last few weeks since the election, right? The most charitable thing someone could say about the bulk of the institutional Republican Party at the national level in the wake of the election that Donald Trump lost is that they're just kind of ignoring and pretending that Donald Trump is not having a total meltdown and attempting to torch American democracy. The nicest thing that can be said about the Mitch McConnells of the world, for instance, is that they are just letting him have his tantrum and hoping it all goes away. That's the best, the very best, most charitable thing you can say about them. We have evidence tonight that that is not what is happening, that they are actually collaborating with Donald Trump in attempting to throw the results of a free and fair election. Because today, Georgia's Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, told the Washington Post he has come under increasing pressure from Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham, to throw away legal ballots. I'll quote, Graham asked whether Raffensperger had the power to toss all mail ballots in counties found to have higher rates of non-matching signatures, Raffensperger said. Raffensperger said he was stunned that Graham appeared to suggest that he find a way to toss legally cast ballots. Absent court intervention, Raffensperger doesn't have the power to do what Graham suggested as counties administer elections in Georgia. It sure looked like he was wanting to go down that road, he said. The Republican Secretary of State in Georgia says that South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, pressured him to dump legally cast ballots in a state where Donald Trump is losing by a relatively narrow margin. Now, Graham told a Wall Street Journal reporter tonight, quote, that's ridiculous. What I'm trying to find out was, how do you verify signatures from mail-in ballots in these states? I thought it was a good conversation. I'm surprised to hear him characterize it that way. Okay, but what on earth was the senator from South Carolina and the chair of the Judiciary Committee doing talking to a state election official in Georgia amidst a presidential recount? Mark Elias, the lawyer who has been fighting against Republican legal challenges across the country, responded to the story saying, quote, this is both outrageous and should be investigated by the Senate Ethics Committee. Now, as you'll remember, on election night, it did look like President Trump was winning in Georgia, though the New York Times Needle predicted otherwise late in the night. But as votes came in from Democratic counties around Atlanta, that lead slipped away. As it stands now, NBC News has called the state for President-elect Biden, who is leading by, and this really is somewhat surprising, 14,000 votes. And the state's two incumbent senators are both headed to a runoff election on January 5th. And the Secretary of State, Raffensperger, has announced a risk-limiting audit, which is a sort of canvassing of the votes that will trigger a statewide recount. Now, 14,000 votes may not seem like a lot, but it is a lot in terms of recounts. It is very unlikely the recount will change anything significantly. In fact, here is what Secretary of State Raffensperger said today before speaking to the Washington Post.
When people are out there making bold-faced lies, you just have to call it out with facts. So we're basically fact-bombing them with the truth.
The lieutenant governor of your state said today that there have been no examples that he's seen of systemic fraud or improprieties and that it certainly appears that Joe Biden is the president-elect. Do you agree with him?
Yes, I believe the lieutenant governor is correct in that statement.
Wow. I mean, look, you see the little bit of fear in his eyes when he takes a deep breath to say like the obvious truth that we all know. The general complaint from Donald Trump and his allies seems to be, how dare you not fix us an election in our favor, fellow Republican? And rather than accept the very plain results of the presidential election, the Republican Party has resorted to eating their own and now just like flirting with outright criminal behavior, lawless yanking away at an election result. One thing that's become more and more clear in the 2 weeks since Election Day is this isn't like an indulging Trump thing. There's something deeply depraved here. The Republican Party is willing to do just about anything in order to maintain power. And we are just seeing how wildly dangerous it is when the president is creating political conditions for the entire Republican Party to join him in essentially seeking to overthrow or ignore the results in a democratic election. And they don't have any problem with that.
All right. So check that out from MSNBC and All In with Chris Hayes. Okay. Name of that clip was Georgia's Secretary of State says Lindsey Graham suggested he find a way to toss legal ballots. And that's from November 16th. All right. I want to go to this story here. How's everybody doing? Everybody share this broadcast on social media platforms, and then African-American business owners, email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. And a lot of people want to invest in the stock market right now and create generational wealth. The ProfitRoom.com can help you with this. Now, the Profit Room is a stock market trading and education company that has mentorship programs that are designed for beginners. They teach individuals how to create generational wealth through trading and investing in the markets, trading and investing in the markets. They teach individuals how to create generational wealth, and they specialize in day trading and one-on-one mentorship. Okay. They also teach stocks, options, futures, the foreign exchange markets as well, and also capital preservation and risk management. Visit their website, theprofitroom.com, and they offer classes periodically, group classes as well. Let them know you found out about this from the African History Network. All right, so email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network, and you can advertise on our nightly show. Monday through Friday show, and then your commercial will also be in our audio podcast of our shows as well. Okay, so I create a video commercial for you, no additional charge. You can email me a script, email me bullet points that you want included, and we'll put that together for you. Most of these commercials, I create them myself. And we air your video commercial during the podcast of when we rebroadcast these shows, and then also an audio podcast format. Also, we're on 9 different audio podcast platforms, including iTunes and iHeartRadio, Castbox, Acast, FM Player, TuneIn as well. For 25 years, the Black History 101 Mobile Museum has carried on the rich legacy of the Black Museum movement in America by showcasing original artifacts of the Black experience at colleges, universities, K-12 schools, corporations, libraries, conferences, and cultural events, making it the most traversed Black History mobile exhibit in American history. Dr. Khalid El Hakim is the founder of the Black History 101 Mobile Museum, and he is a highly sought after public speaker on topics of Black history, social studies, education, museum studies, hip hop, and race relations. Dr. Khalid was named among the change makers for NBC Universal's Erase the Hate campaign and listed as one of the 100 men of distinction for Black enterprise. He recently founded the Michigan Hip Hop Archive on the campus of Western Michigan University. The Black History 101 Mobile Museum is currently scheduling in-person and virtual exhibits nationwide. For more information, please contact Dr. Khalid Al Hakim directly at 313-645-4197. On blackhistorymobilemuseum.com. You can also email him at bhistory101@yahoo.com. bhistory inspired apparel catered to the Black shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, jackets, dresses, skirts, activewear, bags, and other accessories and home decor. Black pride and honor their African heritage anywhere at any time. This apparel line is for anyone, whether you are working in the corporate world, are an entrepreneur, or an artist. Their selection will allow you to casually let your pride shine or dress it up as wanted. It is for those who have already embraced African fabrics and for those who are just getting introduced to them. Reclaim and experience a part of our culture with rich and colorful African prints. The clothing line and the accessories are available right now starting at $17.99. For more information on the new items and accessories, visit yayarule.com. Email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. Customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So that is those are some of our advertisers. That's a sample of the commercials. So email us at customer service at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, let's continue here. So Chadwick Boseman, there was a good article today from BlackAmericaWeb.com. Black Panther's sequel will not feature digitized Chadwick Boseman. The late Boseman made a stern as King T'Challa, aka the Black Panther. Now, the news of Chadwick Boseman's passing left shockwaves throughout the film industry, with many wondering how the Black Panther franchise moves on without the talents of Chadwick Boseman. A producer of the upcoming Marvel sequel says that rumors of a digitized version of Chadwick Boseman are unfounded, and the team is still moving ahead on shooting early 2021. Now, Deadline.com detailed in a report of producer Victoria Alonso's exclusive interview with Clarin, 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 which is a newspaper based in Argentina. Now, from the Deadline.com article, it said, quote, "No, there's only one Chadwick, and he's no longer with us. Sadly, our king has died in real life, not only in fiction, and we're taking a little time to see how we continue the story and how to honor this chapter of what has unexpectedly happened to us. So painful and terrible, to be honest," Victoria Alonso said. She went on to say, "Chadwick wasn't only a wonderful human being every day of the 5 years we spent together, but also I believe that what he did as a character elevated us as a company and has left his moment on history." Now, director Ryan Coogler is back in the director's chair for the sequel, with filming to take place in early 2021, with 2022 as a release date for the film. Chadwick Boseman was 43 years old when he passed away. Check out this article here from blackamericaweb.com. blackamericaweb.com. Now there was a good one from face-to-faceafrica.com, and we posted this a couple of days ago. We got over 4,000 likes on our fan page, the African History Network. Ghana to build Wakanda City to serve as a pilgrimage for people of African descent. Ghana to build a Wakanda City to serve as a pilgrimage for people of African descent. And I'm going to show you, we'll flip over, we'll turn on the screen share to show you the title of the article also. This is from November 13th, 2020. Okay, so the city of Cape Coast in Ghana's central region is widely known as the nation's tourism hub and the Mecca Mecca for African Americans. Every year, hundreds of African Americans across the world, Black people across the world, visit the city and other historic slave sites to learn about the transatlantic slave trade. The region was the hotbed of the slave trade that saw millions of Africans uprooted to the New World. The coastal region has a number of castles and dungeons that were used to keep enslaved men and women for days before they were transported to the Americas to work on various plantations. Since the end of slavery, with Ghana formerly known as the Gold Coast attaining nationhood in 1957, Cape Coast has seen the return of many African Americans and Caribbeans to have firsthand information about the inhumane treatment their ancestors endured. In 2019, Ghana organized the Year of Return to commemorate the landing of Africans from Africa in America, and Africans being enslaved. To commemorate that, the event was highly patronized by members of the diaspora. Beyond the Year of Return, there has been an effort to consolidate the gains made. We talked about the Year of Return here on this show. In this regard, the city of Cape Coast has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Africa Diaspora Development Institute, ADDI, Africa Diaspora Development Institute, and 2 local companies to create an ultra-modern city. The city will be called the Wakanda City of Return. The Wakanda City of Return. The proposed name of the city is inspired by the popular Hollywood movie Black Panther. Now, the project seeks to leverage the heritage and cultural tourist assets in Ghana. The partners want to create a place of pilgrimage for the people of African descent to learn about their history, culture, the civilization of Africa, and its role in the creation of the New World economy. The project, which is a private sector-led initiative, will develop the coastline and new areas in Cape Coast by creating a heritage experience with the provision of 5-star hotels, retreats, health resorts, conference centers, and an ultra-modern continental corporate headquarters for the ADDI, Africa Diaspora Development Institute. The organizers say the timing of the project is apt since the country is still benefiting from the year of return and the Beyond the Return initiative organized by the government. The project is expected to create about 3,000 jobs in Cape Coast. So this is something that's going to be monumental. Check out this article from face-to-faceafrica.com. Ghana to build Wakanda City to serve as a pilgrimage for people of African descent. All right. How's everybody doing? How you doing, Anthony? The Butler, Kimberly, just a few people watching. Mike James. How's everybody doing? Okay, so when you've heard me talk about this before, and when Chadwick Boseman passed away, I did a Facebook post and dealt with this on my show. So at the end of every show and every broadcast, I say Wakanda forever. Wakanda is a real word. Wakanda is a real word. We see Wakanda is an ancient word. We see Wakanda in Native American languages like the Omaha Ponca language and the Sioux Indian language. And it means possesses secret powers, Okay. And I have an extensive, almost 3-hour presentation dealing with the film Black Panther and dealing with African history, things like that. So it's available at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, if you want to check it out. A Black Panther analysis, African culture, history, and Afrofuturism. So I did extensive research so I could do the lectures dealing with the film Black Panther. But so the term Wakanda is an ancient term. You have schools that are named Wakanda around the country, like in Nebraska and Wisconsin. There's a Wakanda Water Park in Wisconsin. So on the way it's spelled. Wakanda, a Bantu word. The film Black Panther is so deep because it reconnects African Americans to African culture and African history. Okay. And this is what a lot of people didn't understand. Okay, hold on here. All right. So the film Black Panther reconnects African people to African history, African culture, African languages. And this is what a lot of people didn't understand. Some of the criticisms of the film was, saying it's fictitious, things like this. You haven't done enough research. Wakanda is a Bantu word. Okay. And Bantu is a group of 500 African languages. And when we look at this, I'm going to pull up my presentation here on Black Panther. We see Bantu languages spoken in Southern Africa, and then going into the East, like in Kenya, and then also going as far west as Cameroon. Let me turn on the screen share here. Just a second here. So when we look at the word Kwanzaa is a Bantu word also. Okay. Kwanzaa is a Bantu word. And so is Wakanda. Now, in the Kikongo language, the word Kanda means family in Kikongo. So what is Bantu? Bantu languages are a group of some 500 languages belonging to the Bantoid subgroup of the Benue Congo branch of the Niger Congo language family. The Bantu languages are spoken in a very large area, including most of Africa, from southern Cameroon eastward to Kenya and southward to the southernmost tip of the continent, going all the way down to South Africa. 12 Bantu languages are spoken by more than 5 million people, including Rundi, Rwanda, Shona, Kosa or Isikosa, and Zulu or Amazulu. Swahili, or more correctly, Kiswahili, which is spoken by 5 million people as a mother tongue and some 30 million as a second language, is a Bantu lingua franca important in both commerce and literature. So Kiswahili is a Bantu language. The word Kwanzaa is a Bantu word. The language spoken in the film Black Panther is Isikosa. Isikosa is a real language. That's a Bantu language. All right. So when you study the film Black Panther, and see, I did about 2 or 3 months of research, really at least I did about 3 months of research in preparation for various lectures I did. I read over 100 articles dealing with the film Black Panther, dealing with the comic book. I bought 2 books dealing with the film Black Panther, dealing with Black Panther also. The Ultimate Black Panther Guide was one of them from Marvel. It's around here somewhere, the Ultimate Black Panther Guide. And then, oh yeah, right here. The Ultimate Black Panther Guide, because I had to study the 52-year history of the Black Panther comic book. You have to understand the Black Panther comic book to understand the movie. So I had to understand storylines and characters and things like this to get a crash course on that history. So I read this book, Black Panther, the Ultimate Guide from Marvel. And then because the characters and some of the storylines that we see in the movie, they're coming straight out the comic book. And then also I read this book here. This is Black Panther from Marvel, the official movie special. Black Panther from Marvel, the official movie special. Gives background information, talks about the directors, all types of background information on the movie, characters, the plot, everything. All the major characters are highlighted in here. This is Angela Bassett as Ramonda, who's actually T'Challa's stepmother. Okay, so all that's here in this book. All right, so I had to read this. So I had to do deep research to be able to really understand what it was that I was seeing. And I read some stuff that people put out that didn't do research, and I could tell. I'm not gonna call any names. I ain't trying to put anybody down, but I read some stuff, man. I could tell they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Seriously. So what is Wakanda? As I said, Wakanda is a real word. We see it in Sioux, Indian, Native America, and Ponca languages. You see some different variations of the spelling. Wakanda is what we see in the comic book. But you have in Nebraska, you have different schools in different states across the country named Wakanda. There's one in Nebraska. Now, Wakanda is the great creator. So when we look at in Native American languages, Sioux, Indian, Omaha, Ponca, Wakanda is the great creator. Wakanda is the great creative power of the Osage Native American nation, Omaha and Ponca tribes. Wakanda is the great creator power of the Osage, Omaha, and Ponca tribes. Wakanda is an abstract, omnipresent, creative force who is never personified in traditional Siouan legends, Sioux Indian legends, and in fact did not even have a gender before the introduction of English with its gender-specific nouns. So this is one source on information of the meaning of the word Wakanda and going back to Native American languages. I looked at a lot of different information on this. This is from native-language.org, native-language.org. And then we see this is in Wisconsin, the Wakanda Water Park in Wisconsin. And it's been there for years. This is don't have nothing to do with the film Black Panther. Wakanda is an ancient word. The movie Black Panther is much deeper than we think. It reconnects African people to African history, culture, language. And we know when we read, like, the first Americans were Africans, documented evidence, and we study other information, we know the first Americans were Africans. And there's a relationship between African people and Native Americans also. Located in Wakanda Park in Mimini on the shores of Lake Miniman, this group is what's left of a once large cluster of mounds that were submerged when Lake Miniman was created by damming Red Cedar River. Out of 17 submerged mounds, 14 were excavated by archaeologists. Some of the mounds contained burials, including an individual wearing clay mask. The feature found in only 2 other mound sites in Wisconsin. So when we deal with these mounds, these massive mounds, these were built by Native Americans, some built by Africans, the Khoisan. And there were at one point 1 million mounds in this land. Okay. The largest mound that still exists today, or one of the largest, is in East Illinois. It's called Cahokia. East Illinois is called Cahokia. Okay. And Professor Kaba Kamene, one of my teachers, he's actually been to it. So we still see these structures exist. Okay, we still see that history is there and these structures exist. By different accounts, either 3 or 4 mounds are still existent in the park. This is talking about Wakanda Water Park in Wisconsin, all supposed to be ovals. I found 2 definite mounds in decent condition, unmowed and away from pedestrian traffic at the dead end of the ridge overlooking the lake. Nearby, there was a raise in the ground that might have been 3rd mound, but it's pretty low and mowed with the rest of the disc golf course on which it's located. So you can check out information at wisconsinmounds.com/Wakanda Park Mound. Wakanda Park Mounds, wisconsinmounds.com/Wakanda Park Mounds. Then also at Mimini-wi.gov, MENOMONIE, Mimini, Menominee, WI for Wisconsin. Okay. .gov. So check that out. They have a lot of information there. That deals with the Wakanda Water Park. All right. Oh, and then this one here. This is also at the Wakanda Water Park. Prehistoric Indian mounds, Wakanda Park in Menominee, Wisconsin. So this is like a historical marker there at the Wakanda Water Park, and it says prehistoric Indian mounds. Prehistoric Indian mounds. And let me flip over so I can see this. It says group of ancient mortuary mounds probably erected by the Dakotas, Native American nation, or Sioux, the prehistoric Indian inhabitants of this region located on an Indian village site. Okay, this is like a historic marker there at the Wakanda Park also in Wisconsin. All right, so check that out as well. Okay, look, hey, we're here Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern Standard Time. African History Network show. You can donate to the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Then also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Let's just keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting. And then you can donate at our website, also AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Click on the yellow donate button. All right, we're going to get out of here. So my lecture on Black Panther is at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. And we have a Black Panther bundle pack where we have, I did a total of 3 lectures on Black Panther. One I did for children. I did at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. And I was presenting to 5th through 12th graders and their teachers. There's about 60 5th through 12th graders and their teachers I was presenting to. And I'm showing them how the film Black Panther relates to African history, culture, and language, and how they can use aspects of the film Black Panther to teach this history to our children. All right, so that's available at AfricanHistory.com, and we just posted a link bundle packs also for that. All right, look, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow night. Follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, and on my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP. And turn on live notifications so you know when we go live also, okay? All right, remember at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you all tomorrow. Peace.